Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Today you are joining me in an F80 M3 competition pack. This car belongs to a good friend of mine, ZedCoding. Those of you that are in the BMW scene, you'll know all about Zed. He codes cars, he unlocks hidden options that are in the iDrive system, and other coding options that are within the BMWs. He's done quite a lot of coding work to most of my BMWs, more recently my M4 and also my G23 series, which I had before I bought the Porsche Macan. And I'll link in some of those vids in the description of this vid, and also all of Zed's details. So if you are thinking of getting your car coded, then definitely hit up Zed. Now this car Zed has picked up probably a few months ago, and it's the first time I'm going to be driving it and doing a vid on it. We'll do a quick walk around of the car. It is a bit raining out there, it's a bit windy, so what I'll do is I'll overlay all the kind of pictures of the car while I talk about it. Now this car is finished off in the mineral white. It's quite different to the Alpine white that my M4 is. It has like a little fleck in the paintwork when the sort of sun shines on it. Now Zed's obviously added a few nice carbon touches. So it's got the CS style front lip, carbon side skirts, and around the rear end he's also got the carbon diffuser with some carbon tailpipes. Now this car, being the competition pack, has a little bit more power over the non-competition pack cars. Like most of you know, this produces in the region of about 450 horsepower. The torque figure is exactly the same, so it's 550 newton meters of torque. Now from what Zed has told me, this car is completely stock. It's riding on the 20-inch 666M alloy wheels, but there is no lowering springs on this car. It's not been spaced, so it's really going to be interesting to see how this car performs compared to my stage 1 M4 that I've been running now for, well, that stage 1 I've been running for best part of almost a year, to be honest. So it's going to be quite nice to see how this compares to that. But overall, sitting behind the wheel of this car, it does feel quite different to my M4, because you've got this door over here which is much smaller compared to my M4, as this is like the M3 being the 4-door saloon. I must say though, you do feel quite cocooned in, like say, sitting behind the wheel here, because everything just feels close by. Like I say, I think the door has a massive part to play, because you got the B pillar just here as well, so all of that just gives you a bit more of a cocooned feel. Zed has added like some nice touches, so he's got the carbon flappy paddles, and he's got the red M1 and M2 buttons as well, which go nicely with the start button. Okay, so let's just fire up the car. Quite strange that BMW actually got a soft limiter on this, and I think the one way to overcome it is just put the car into drive, just roll it forward, and now I think the soft limiter will be off. Let's try that now. So let's just hit the M1 button. I've obviously got this configured to my spec, so sorry Zed, you'll have to recode all of this. I'll give it some revs now. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump out and rev it, because this sounds quite brutal compared to, like say, the stock M4. So yeah, I'm just going to jump out, do it from there. So behind the wheel of Zed's pride and joy, his M3 competition pack. From the get-go, this car does feel quite different to my M4. Now, the sound is one thing. It sounds quite different to my M4. And what I mean by that is, I know some of the sound is going to be actuated through the speakers, but it just sounds a little bit more deeper. And the exhaust as well, it's got like some nice crackles. And my car is stage 1, and I've got some pops and bangs coming out of that car, but this is stock, and the stock crackles that this car produces, I don't really think you're going to be able to hear them, but they are quite pronounced and they're quite raspy. The suspension on this car, like I say, it's stock. It does feel quite firm, but also quite comfortable. And my car is riding on 20 mil lowering spring, so it's quite firm anyway. But this does feel quite comfortable yet firm, if that kind of makes sense. It's still quite lively. I really like the way this car has been set off from the way it looks. I mean, from the front end you've got the carbon splitter, you've got the carbon side skirts and the carbon diffuser around the back, you've got the icon lights, but the way this car sits with those wide wheel arches, I think that is like the main thing about the M3, like really that sets it apart from the M4, is how wide this car really looks and how purposeful it is as well. I really love like the S55 engine. The amount of torque it's got, it's unbelievable. I know it's quite skittish, and I know like even in the competition form it still is quite a handful to manage, but there's a lot of fun that goes into it. Thing is, like, I must say, I mean the roads today, they're like really wet, and it's doing a half decent job of actually holding on to itself. I mean, so much power, man. I mean this car is stock, do you know what I mean? And to a certain point I can see like the difference between this and the M4. The M4's got stage 1, it's pushing like probably almost like another say 100 odd horsepower over this, or thereabouts. I'm going to get the car on the dyno to like obviously get that figure totally sort of official, but let's just say it's pushing about 530 to 540 horsepower, something like that. And the way that moves compared to this, you know, that's, you know, it's rapid, that thing is. But even a stock form, this car is, you know, it's a quick car. You know, you're getting a lot of sound coming like into the cabin. You know, part of that is going to be actuated through the speakers. You know, but what isn't actuated is the exhaust, like pops and crackles. You can really feel the car though, like, you know, it wants to rotate on you, like when you really like pushing it. You can feel how lively like the rear end is, and that is part of the fun factor. Like in my book, I mean, I'll be honest with you, that is what I really like about this. I mean, we're going to see from here how skittish it's going to get. There you go. That it was sliding all over the place there, and it was trying to like say find traction, and to a certain point right there it was like, nope, I'm not going to go anywhere. The traction light was kicking in and whatnot, and then all of a sudden it was a little bit all over the place. But this is what it's about. You can have a lot of fun in something like this, and you know what, that's why I really love, like say, the F80, M3 and the M4. So from a design point, I really think that BMW nailed it with the F80 M3. You know, this car has been around since what, 2014, so 6-7 years. And it still looks quite fresh, and I think it still looks quite sleek as well. The interior does look quite dated, but then again that is based on like the standard, you know, F33 series again, which has been around since 2012. So, you know, but I think from the exterior with those wide hips and whatnot, the car is just so stunning to look at. So now that the new G80 and G82 M3 M4 are out on the market, these things are just phenomenal value for money. I mean, you can probably pick one of these up for about 35 to 40k depending on sort of condition and, you know, and mileage and whatnot. And I kind of think that they're really hard to beat. I mean, the M3 competition over the stock, you know, M3 does offer a tweaked suspension, and to a certain point I can probably feel that a little bit on this drive. It just feels a little bit more composed. I mean, it is still quite a handful to drive, especially on the road like this today where it's a bit wet. But the best thing about this is at least it's got some half decent Michelin Pilot Super Sport tyres on. Okay, they're not the 4S's, but I've driven an M3 which had some budget tyres on, and I don't know what that guy was thinking about, or the owner of that car. But you can see, like, every time I'm in the F80 M3 or an F82 M4, I'm always smiling, and the reason for that is they're just so good to drive. They're flipping quick cars. I think the thing is, you know, like, if you are quite progressive in, like, say, the throttle, you can actually manage that power. I mean, if you're going to use it like an on-off switch, it's going to be all over the place, and it's not going to hook up. But I absolutely love these machines. I think what I like about this generation of M3 and M4 is that although there's loads of electronics going on, you know, under the car, it still gives you that little bit of, you know, drivability in these. As these cars are so frisky and, like, they're, you know, at times they can catch you out, you do have to drive these cars and you got to stay alert. And that's something that I found with, like, the G82 that I was in last week, is that those cars are so refined, like in the newer generation, that you do lose that drivability. Now, driving that last week and then driving my M4 during the week and now into this, and I do feel that in this generation M3 and M4, it's probably the last M3 and M4 that will give you this level of excitement. I mean, I'm not even knocking, like, the newer ones. I mean, those cars are phenomenal and they're quite quick and there's a lot of tech that's going on into them. But I think the word I'm trying to get to is they just feel a bit dull to drive, whereas these, there's a lot of excitement in these when you're driving them. There's one, the sound. There's two, like, how frisky these cars are that keep you awake. And I think that's, personally, I think that's what I really like about these. Traction. So guys, I think I'm going to wrap up. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time driving Zed's M3 competition. If you guys have found this video enjoyable to watch, then definitely give it a like, share, subscribe to the channel, and leave some comments in the comment section below. Huge shout out to Zed for allowing me to take his car and give it a good thrashing around these country lanes. If you guys are thinking about getting your BMW coded, then definitely check out Zed. All of his details are in the description below. And hopefully, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.